All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming here this evening. Welcome to the Belvedere City Council regular meeting of January 16th, 2024. If the clerk will help me with the roll call, please.
Albertini,
Here.
Brereton,
Here.
Fleury,
Here.
Frank,
Here.
Freeman. Here. Gramkowski.
Here.
McGee,
Here.
Mulhall. Mulhall's absent. Snow,
Here.
Stevens,
Here.
9 present.
Okay, thank you. If you'll stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, we pray to thank you for our country, our community, our families, our friends, and our freedom. And Lord, we thank you for our current military service members and for the men and women veterans who have served and sacrificed for this country throughout our nation's history. We ask that you bless them and their families. And we give thanks for our police and first responders, police and fire first responders in our community and throughout our country who bravely serve our citizens no matter what. And we pray for their safety and well-being. We pray for guidance and that you give each of us here this evening compassion, patience, understanding, courage, and wisdom as we conduct our city's business. We pray for these things in Christ's name. Amen. Okay, under public comment, John Albertini wanted to chat about the four-way stop sign that we had put in on Union and 6th Street. And believe me, I had received a email from a resident, Miss Deanna Veal, and she's lived in the area for a long time, and I certainly want to say this, that I have been through that intersection now and failed to stop 3 times. I think what we have is, and I'm not making excuses for my bad driving, but I am saying that we have a stop sign, I believe, that we've probably placed too close, I think it's within 700 feet of Pearl Street and 6th Street. And the more that I thought about it, I think we probably have made a mistake. It won't be the first one. It definitely won't be the last one. But I do want to ask if Mr. Albertini, Alderman Albertini, would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I would like to make a comment. This is about the four-way sign that we all voted to put in because we felt that it might be helpful. It wasn't a requirement. It didn't meet the statutes. I received an email from a Deanna Veal, as he had said, and I received one as well. I'm going to read it briefly. It's fast. It says, "Good morning. I'm emailing you to add my name to the list of people against the new stop signs at the 6th and Union. I know you advised against it," meaning the mayor, "which was entirely correct. It's unsafe, creates a bottleneck, and is a waste of money. I would like to see it removed, or better yet, moved to 5th Avenue and 6th Street to make it safe for the Washington school families. I am unsure if you see Facebook, but there are multiple posts and complaints about it. Most comments say that it needs to be moved to 5th Avenue. Making it a four-way stop, and for someone who just lives blocks away from there and has a child at that school, I can tell you that as many times I have had to block traffic so the kids could cross the crosswalk before no one was stopping. Also on 5th Avenue and South Side, it is often hard to see traffic because of the cars parked on 6th Street. Let alone, it is quite the nightmare to turn out of 5th during school traffic. It is often backed up with a line waiting. Sincerely, Deanna Veal." Okay, I sat out there for an hour the other day because of this email at 6:30 to 7:30 in the morning at that intersection to monitor it, to see the problems. I did, like the mayor does, I did see people go through the stop sign. Big flags on it as well as just the stop signs there, so it's kind of hard to miss it, but obviously we can. I did see that. I did see the fact that the school bus, when they start rolling, with the stops at Pearl all the way past that intersection, is traffic backed up because of the school buses and traffic trying to make the turns on the Pearl. So it's a significant amount of backup. I don't know if it was a good idea. I don't know that Brent likes taking signs back out, but I don't see it being helpful being there for what we intended it to do. As far as moving it, I don't know that that's feasible. If you want to consider it, it would have to be viewed by the city to see if it warrants a stop sign being moved to Fifth. I checked that intersection as well, sat there for a little bit. Fifth does have crosswalks. It does have signs indicating pedestrian crossing. But it doesn't bring in the fact that there's children crossing there to go to the schools. So if we didn't put a stop sign there, which I just don't think it would help, and because the block before that on 7th, there's a stop sign. So again, we'd be stop and causing a backup again, especially with the school bus routes and everything. So I don't know if putting a stop sign at 5th Street would be advantageous for the school. My suggestion, if we did anything for that intersection, is prior to each side going east and west on that street on 6th, that we maybe consider putting in a school zone signs. 2 blocks prior to each side is required. This would cause the traffic to reduce to 15 miles per hour. I mean, it doesn't stop them, but the other thing is when you enter a crosswalk, you're required to stop for pedestrians in a crosswalk. Well, once they're doing 15, maybe they'd be more, or more willing to stop when they see a child or kids stepping into that crosswalk. Whereas when they're doing 60, they're not going to stop for anybody. So this is my suggestion. We should consider removing the stop signs at Union, and I don't know about putting them in at 5th, but I do think we need to consider putting in school crossing or school zone signs to reduce the speed limits to try to make it a little safer, because I don't know why there isn't signs there already, being it is a school zone. So this is my opinion. This is a letter I did read, and anybody has any insights on this or want to contribute to it, feel free. I'd be happy to entertain any questions. Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Albertini.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. I do believe that, what we have done, and I'm saying I'm just as guilty as anybody else, but I think whenever we turn over stop sign or requests for signage, when we turn those over, I think we sometimes neglect some of the information that we get back from Director Anderson. And, in this case, I do believe that it is a mistake, and it is going to be on the next committee meeting, and I think we can look at it. But if anybody hasn't gone over there by that, and you see whether you're turning left going north on Pearl or right going south on Pearl onto 6th Street, you'll see that the buses, after they get out, and not only that, but the traffic picking up children, they're going to run 600 feet, and then you're going to have a bottleneck. And as well, I think people look beyond. A lot of times they're looking past Union. They know there's a stop sign up at Pearl, and it's the next stop. But I think we've created a bottleneck, and I think maybe maybe we've created a false sense of security that because there's a stop sign there that people actually will be able to see it. I think we should revisit that. And then if anybody wants to, if we want to put it on the agenda to revisit perhaps the 5th stop sign there. But this one here is awful close to Pearl Street, which we know has a lot of traffic. They're going to be turning onto 6th. and they're coming right into a stop sign. And so we'll put that on the next agenda, and I appreciate the comments, and I appreciate Ms. Veal for coming down here. I know she pays attention to a lot of things that go on, especially in that area of town, and I'm grateful for that. I live over in that area, and I certainly appreciate it, and you taking the time here this evening to come down, so thank you. I believe that's all we have for public comment. We have on the agenda this evening approval of the minutes, item A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of the Belvedere City Council dated December 18th, 2023 as presented. If I could have a motion for that approval, please. Motion by Alderman Albertini, thank you. And a second? Anybody? Second by Alderman McGee, thank you. Any questions, any corrections, any concerns regarding the motion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And if there's any opposed? All right, motion passed, thank you. And then item B, approval of the minutes of the special meeting of the Belvedere City Council dated December 29th, 2023, as presented in your packet. If I could have a motion to that effect, please. Motion by Alderman McGee, thank you. Second by Alderman Snow, thank you. Any questions, any corrections, any comments regarding that motion on the floor? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, motion passed, thank you. And under item 5, public hearing, we have none. Item 6, special messages and proclamations. In your packet, last week I had put some information regarding R1, an appointment, or actually the city taking part in a position of regional economic analyst position for the city of Belvedere's part of one of 7 partners for the Planning Council. I did provide you, I think I put a packet, laid a informational on your desk the night of the meeting. I hope you had a little more chance to look at it. But I also invited Michael Dunn, who's the director at R1, and also the individual Phil Pittsford, who's the analyst that was hired for that position. And I would ask the council, we have it later on in the meeting under motions out of finance and personnel as item D later on to approve this. I did want to make sure if the council had any questions regarding this position, that the gentlemen that are here tonight, they could probably answer them as well or better than I could. So if you have any questions, I certainly would bring up Mr. Dunn or Mr. Pittsford, or if you don't think that's necessary, we can move on with the agenda. Alderwoman Freeman?
So correct me if I'm wrong, please, but is there something we pay a $5,000 annual fee for? Is it the R1 or is it something else? And if it is R1, is this on top of that, or
This is on.
is
on top.
R1?
Yes, this is additional to that, and certainly I talked about that last meeting, that the city of Belvedere is a partner, the state and the federal funding for us to be able to retrieve and have marketed or advocate for municipalities used to be done as a political position. It used to be done by, well, quite frankly, a lot of times when you had a larger community, they had a little bit more clout, and some of the funding was unfair. And I think R1 was formed as a representative for some of the smaller municipalities, but also in this instance, Rockford, I would say probably Rockford, being the largest community, had historically been able to take advantage of maybe the politics at hand rather than what the priorities at hand should be. So we do pay additional for that, and this, however, is an data analyst position that is new, that quite frankly, we, the city, could take advantage of, or any other economic development agencies that represent any of the municipalities. But if we all share, cost share in that, I think I had told you last week that it was 87.50, I think is what I had mentioned. It's actually 78.57.14. So it's $7,857.14.
So if we don't pass this, we would still be in R1 with the $5,000 annual thing? We just wouldn't be
We would
able
still-
to access this?
Yeah, we would still be a member. This position was a data analyst position that, obviously, the only way that they could afford to hire somebody like that would be to have a shared by the members of the different communities as members of R1. So the question is whether or not we would see $7,857.14. I do believe we would. I believe we would. I believe that there's a lot of analysis that goes into making decisions or advocating or marketing on behalf of different communities. It doesn't mean that we may be the best one, but when we are, we certainly have the information that we can present and go forward with to any potential businesses that want to relocate here. So it's an investment. It's not a lot of money, but I do believe there's, I do believe that we would see an advantage out of that. But it's up to the council, you're right, correct. You're welcome. Alderman Albertini?
I have a quick question. This R1 Planning Council, when will we see reports on this in the
Well,
future?
Well, a lot of times I report to the council. For instance, as you may recall, maybe you don't. I don't know if you were on the council then, but with parking lot 7 downtown, we were able to acquire a grant that was from R1, that started with R1, and that they advocated on behalf of the city of Belvedere in competition with other priorities of the 7 members of R1. And we were able to prevail for $216,000, I think was the amount of that. And so that was one of them. Also R1, as you may recall, with the land bank, with property that is dilapidated and has set. I think the one that I can think of was on Caswell Street that had been vacant for, I think, 15 years, and on Helen? Okay, it wasn't Caswell. It was Helen. Helen, thank you. Thank you, Alderwoman Frank. My memory isn't what it used to be. But anyhow, so that property had sat vacant for, I think it was 15 years. And I know that the city had a lot of complaints being dilapidated. And so R1, through the land bank, was able to obtain that property, or actually was able to put that property up for bid, and obtain the property and put it up for bid, and then had somebody successfully buy it. They renovated it, and they put it back on the tax rolls. That's another thing they do. As well, the land bank, whenever with Stellantis, whenever we had found out that there was going to be a potential for an investment in Stellantis besides automobile manufacturing, a battery plant in this case, the 257 acres adjacent to Stellantis, we had to have a way to secure that property, at least an option on it. I didn't think that the city of Belvedere should be involved in that. And however, the land bank was an organization we belong to, and that we're able to, present an argument for an option on that property. So they do a lot for the city of Belvedere. I do have minutes that I could provide to the council. I don't know, but usually I report on them, whatever we have that are significant.
Okay, thank you. I guess, it's just being new, I am missing a few things, and I just needed to ask that. Thank you.
Thank you, absolutely. Anybody else? Alderman Snow?
And so will this information, should it be or will it be made available as we get the information from them on these analysis to Growth Dimensions, being that they're partners in that?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, Boone County had also is a partner through R1, and Boone County has taken part in this, the same thing. Certainly not every property that's in Boone County, every potential could be annexed to the city. may not be necessary, but they've decided to partake in it. And I would think that the city, that would be something we would want to do as well. But it's up to the council. Any other questions? Any questions for Mr. Dunn or Mr. Pittsford? Okay, all right. It'll be up later on then in the agenda. And is there anything that you would like to add, Michael? Mr. Dunn?
Mayor, thank you for sharing all that. I would only, and I apologize again that I'm not in the most professional dress tonight. Mr. Kelly did a good job of coming there early. To the first question, we're not trying to just keep going back to some more money. To understand kind of the basis for our funding model, Belvedere remains, and we're proud that Belvedere is one of our 6 shareholders, one of our 6 owners. So while we have a board of roughly 30, and we have more and more local governments coming and going, Freeport, St. Paul, things like that, they're not owners. But Belvedere is one of the 6 government owners. And so where we can provide a program like the land bank free of charge, we will do that. We will do everything we can with the most frugality to give one of our 6 owners a lot of technical support. Because for every dollar Belvedere might get, that's 20% to 80% of federal dollars that are going to run on all. And so whenever you're providing this money, we're taking that money and matching it to a much larger revenue source that is on a federal or state level for our own operations. So you're not even covering 1/6 of our operations, you're covering 1/6 of 20% of our own operations for a specific program. So the $5,000 referenced earlier is the annual cost for the council government. The reason why that is important is that's the one program we do that does not get supported by federal or state dollars, but it gives you the possibility to do the kind of work that happens in this. And so that is why that dollar amount is what it is, because any activity we engage in on behalf of the council government has to be derived locally as a membership fee. So the land bank is something that we don't have the membership fee, we just do it. In this case, because we're here, because Driscoll's about background, of course, we're happy to give you that and let him introduce himself. But in this case, we were asked, and we support, growth dimensions is one of the 5 economic development corporations that we support in the region. So we also support the Henrys, Winnebagos, Opals, and Stevensons. With that said, we were asked, how do we get better with site data, site readiness data? How do we get our sites where it's not sales and marketing or standard growth dimensions, but it's real data to turn around and collect quickly. And in addition to that,
Alderwoman Freeman?
Thank you again. So we're currently working on our comprehensive plan for the city.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how this position might help tie in with that?
Well, I think, opportunity, the comprehensive plan identifies what the land use, what we believe the land use should be. The comprehensive plan provides a zoning, it's not written in stone, but it is a guideline as to what we would like to see transpire in some of the opportunities we have, especially out along I-90, the growth corridor. And, any of those, as Mr. Dunn had just said, sometimes those bring opportunities and they bring them where they want a decision, but they also want data and they want to be provided information before they make their choice. Part of that we've seen obviously with already with Stellantis. Midwest Refrigerated Services, to an extent, have had a deadline that we've been able to meet, but anything that we can do for $7,857.14, I would think that that potentially could help anybody regarding economic development, not only the city of Belvidere, but any other partner that we have. So I hope that answers your question. All right. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. We will move on. I see Mr. James Lee is here. Item B is with the Ida Public Library. Welcome, Mr. Lee.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jim Lee, and I'm the president of the Ida Public Library Board of Directors. Tonight, I'm just here to present the library director's report that she normally gives today. So this will be brief and very entertaining. I'm sure that you know everything going on with the library. We held our second annual Ida Skate Day at Riverside Ice Arena on December 27th. With a good turnout. The event was funded by the Friends of the Library, and they also provided hot cocoa and cookies in the warming cabin. We hosted the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie and the Barbie movie. We have an annual Swank movie license, but it does not permit us to post the name of the movie on social media. You can find the names of movies on our website or call the library. The next one is a teen movie on February 1st at 5 p.m. and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 rated PG-13. Tomorrow, January 17th, the University of Illinois Extension Office is presenting a seasonal care for the home landscape, spring edition. February 21st at 6 p.m., they will have a seed starting program. You can register on our website or call the library. We had an overwhelming sign-up for the Bluey Bedtime Bash on Tuesday, January 30th at 6 p.m. So a second session has been added for Wednesday, January 31st. Sign up on our website or call the library. We start off February by welcoming EK Cakery back on February 5th at 6 p.m. Erica will once again be holding a cookie decorating program for adults, only with Valentine's-themed cookies. Registration is required. Friday, February 16th at 2 p.m., a Taylor Swift party for teens with crafts, music, and activities. I'm not sure if Kelsey's going to be there or not. On Thursday, February 22nd, is a baby sock hop. 2 sessions, one at 10:30 a.m. and one at 5. We are now working on our spring programs and have a program guide, and we'll have a program guide ready by next month's meeting. This is with regard to our staff situation. We added 2 part-time staff members for evenings, 12 hours a week. We will be losing 3 to 4 current staff members upon graduation as they go off to college. Our 2 workforce teens came to the end of their contracts in December, but were not available for evening work. We are partnering workforce again to add 1 or 2 more daytime teen staff for a 3 or 4 month contract. Their wages are paid by workforce. We are also partnering with NAPCA, the National Asian Pacific Center on Aging, as they find candidates to fill their 2-year work program grant. The NACPA pays the wages for 2 years and covers their insurance. We had one candidate lined up, but she found a full-time job elsewhere. One of the things, we have a lot of turnover in libraries, so that's something that we have concern about, and we need to come up with some plans to make that a little better situation for us. It was previously mentioned that both our preschool programmer and our teen service coordinator had resigned. Daisy, our youth service manager, has taken over the teen services programs, and our director, Mindy, has taken over the teen book ordering. Chrissy has now taken over preschool programming and will be running the preschool story times and events going forward. In the building, one of our thermostats in the children's department was vandalized, and all of our April air controls were turned to a max a couple weeks ago. To avoid further damage, we are installing locking cages over the public-facing controls. These are in a lot of schools. The thermostats and so on are locked in place so the kids can't adjust and so on and so forth. The plastic lock on the men's room toilet paper holder has been broken, and toilet paper rolls are being stolen daily. I know we had a problem during COVID, but I thought we were kind of past that. Maybe not. We're installing an anti-theft holder with a padlock to stop the thefts. One of our battery-operated chargers that fastens the tables was also damaged, and a new charger was ordered. These are things that they're attached to the tables, and you can charge your electronic devices. We ordered perfect replicas of the 1912 State Street door handles and push plates, and they're absolutely beautiful. I saw them the other day. They were a bit costly, but a generous patron donated funds to purchase them, and we will have them installed soon. And the State Street doors are now functional, so they haven't been functional in quite some time, so that's a yay library. The bookmobile microwave had to be replaced along with one turn signal light. And finally, we wanted to give a big thank you to the Belvedere Health Department and the COAR program for our outside Narcan dispenser, and to Brenda Valdez, the Empower Boone Food Pantry, the Boy Scouts, and Home Depot for the critical food blessing box in front of the library. Both are used frequently and are an aid to our community. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Lee? Okay, I guess there isn't any. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank
Nice
you.
to see you.
Have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Stay warm.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Item 7, approval of expenditures. We have tonight approval of general and special fund expenditures in the amount of $2,488,763.04. If I could get a motion to that effect, please. Motion by Alderman McGee, thank you. Anybody else? I need a second. Second by Alderman Stevens, thank you. And any questions regarding those expenditures that have been in your packet? Alderwoman Freeman?
Thank you, Mayor. I have several tonight. I'm going to start from the back and go forward. So we're going to start with Director Anderson. So page 33, we paid Stenstrom $123,065 for ADA sidewalks. Is that a year-to-date total? And can you tell me what percentage of our sidewalks are now in compliance? And do you know if there's any available grant funding for that?
So the bill in question, those are, the ADA sidewalk corresponds with our overlay work. So depending on which streets we overlay on an annual basis will dictate what the ADA requirements are for each of those intersections, because that's a requirement of using motor fuel tax funds to do that work. So it's associated with that. So some years it might be more, some years it might be less. It all depends on what that is. So I can't really tell you a percentage of overall because it relates directly to what we do for an overlay list on an annual basis. but that's where that cost is. So that represents, that's a single bill, that represents the total cost for what it did for us this year for doing the ADA ramps. There's different fundings out there. Occasionally, one's a Safe Route to Schools program, which would include sidewalk as well as ADAs. So any of those programs that we can take advantage of, we try to do that. In this case, specifically on this, because it's associated directly with the overlay program, it's not necessarily a grant eligible, or there's a grant, specific grant that we could go after for that, other than if we were gonna do an overall improvement, and then we could somehow tie in, again, a Safe Routes to School program. If we do an overlay on the street and the ADAs are already in place and they're up to date, then we don't have to do anything. But for the most part, because we do a 10 to 12-year rotation on ADAs, we have some that are done, some that aren't done. And again, it all depends on what streets we're doing on a given basis.
Okay, thank you for that. Then on page 28, seems like we spent a total of $22,202 for Morton salt. I just wanted to ask you about leftover salt from last year, if we use that first, and if we've ever considered alternatives like replacing the sodium chloride with calcium chloride that's effective to negative 25 degrees, or any brine solutions or sand salt grit mixtures, and the cost effectiveness of maybe considering those?
We have done those things in the past. Your calcium chloride, the higher temperature, it comes with a higher cost expense. We used to mix our salt ratios 3 to 1, 3 parts salt to 1 part abrasive grit, whether it be sand or something. When you do that, then depending on, again, how bad your winter season is, then you got cleanup and follow-up cleanup in the spring, which is time-consuming and costly as well. We've done the brining before. We may look back at brining again. We did that early on. Didn't see really a significant, at that point in time when we did it then, didn't see a significant difference in treated versus untreated versus running pure salt. We ran pure salt probably for the last 15-plus years. We stopped mixing it, and that seems to be the most economical at this point in time. As regulations get further and further tightened through EPA and that kind of stuff, we could be forced to or be required to back off on some of that salt expense, not expense, but application, and then the brining then may become more effective.
Okay, thank you for that. And then on page 25, there is William Charles for streetlight repairs. I just wanted to ask you, were any of those done in Farmington Fields? Because it's come to my attention that there's streetlights out in Farmington Fields, and if not, could you check into that?
We could do that. So basically, on our the streetlight poles where you see those, most of the two of the larger ones there were because of being hit by usually the semis. So depending on the individual subdivisions, our steel metal poles are typically owned and operated by the city of Belvedere. Any of your fiberglass poles in the Farmington subdivision, the black fiberglass poles, those are maintained, owned by ComEd, and we pay a maintenance fee to them. So anything that you see, if you get reported that are outages, if you report them to the Public Works office with an address or with a close-by address, we can turn them to ComEd to get those repaired.
Thank you. And the last one that I have nope, I have a couple more for you. Page 24, Stenstrom, there's 2 entries for $26,176 and some change total. $17,089 for city sidewalks / tree damage, and $9,086 for alley / parking lot. So can you tell me what work was done and where on those?
So the city sidewalk, the tree damage, so around town, if there's terraced trees, and the root system on the terraced trees causes the sidewalk to be lifted or causes unevenness, so forth, then the city pays for 100% of the cost to replace those. And that's what that represents, and that comes out of forestry funds. It's a separate line item. The 602, that's our street parking lot maintenance materials line item. So those would be sidewalk work replaced when we do our alley overlay programs, for example, and we replace the sidewalk across the alleyways. That's where that comes out of, not necessarily out of your The sidewalk line item is primarily in the street department budget. The sidewalk line item is for the 50/50 program, for the citizens' participation. We take the ADA stuff comes out of its own fund as far as that goes too. So there's like 4 different funding sources that we utilize for sidewalk replacement.
Okay, thank you for that. And last one for you, I promise. These are 2 that are on the same page, page number 22. We paid Maggio $775 to tow number 2023. And then I wanted to ask you about the $650 to Northern Illinois Wildlife for beaver removal.
Yes, so we have, unfortunately, we have a beaver population that likes to try to remain established in the Farmington ponds, and they do quite a bit of considerable damage and stuff out there. So from time to time, we have to have the professionals come in and remove those, and that's what that represents. We also have beavers that like to create habitat for themselves along Appleton Road, where they dam up our pipe system and drainage system on Appleton and back that up. So occasionally, again, we have to remove those then. So they were successful in the removal, hence the cost. And then the other one was the Maggio, that was 2023. That was the dump truck that was damaged in the fire. It was sent out for repairs, came back, and then when the first time we went to use it again, they found some more stuff wrong with it ultimately that didn't catch the first time, so that's why we had to get it towed.
Thank you. So I have a couple for Chief Shadle. Page 16, $1,699.99 to Lincoln Rental for a steel cutoff saw. Did we purchase or rent this, and what did we use it for?
So our cutoff saws, they're rescue saws that are on our frontline apparatus. One of those would have been used to cut open the garage doors to ventilate the fire at the street building. That's an example of that, or car fires, anytime we need to gain access. So they're rescue saws. We had a couple saws that reached end of life. They were, I'm not exactly sure the age, but they were, it was getting recommended by the mechanics who were is the street department mechanics to look into replacing those. So if you guys recall, one thing that we have at the fire department is the 2% fund, and this was one of those shared purchases where we needed 2 of them, and we bought one through the equipment budget 8,200, and then the other one was actually purchased by 2%. So we actually got 2 of those, but those are the saws, and then they were purchased and not rented. That was they're a local steel vendor.
Okay, so it's Lincoln Rental, so were they used or no?
Nope, they were brand new rescue. Their cost is more than the normal K-saws that you would see on the sites. They are larger diameter, made to hold up to heavy duty commercial work.
Thank you. And then on that same page 16, Newegg Business for $1,843.98 for a Ethernet switch.
Yes, ma'am. So that was actually recommended by the IT department. And basically, there's, at each department, there are these Ethernet switches, and they're server switches. Basically, if you think of it, it's like a place, like an extension cord where you plug in and then it's a splitter, and it splits everything. So back when those were put in, they were 10, 30, 100 switches, so they could only handle speeds up to 100. Now basically, for example, at Station 2, we switched to Frontier, and we were able to reduce our costs significantly by doing so, and our speeds went from 200 megabits a second to 1 gig, so 1 G, for significantly less. Well, anyways, that switch would max out, best case scenario, at 100. So basically, when those server switches were put in, it was at a time where internet speeds, high speed, was 30 megs. Nowadays, even our reporting software, everything is cloud-based, so that's where your internet speed is really, really important. Also, our phones, our internet, all of our backups our internet, and of course the computer network. So the computers, printers, fax, they're all hooked in. So there's one of those at each station, and you should see, or either last month there was another one. So that is what that is. It's just an Ethernet switch in the servers.
Thank you for that. And then the last one I had for you was page 14, and this was under repairs and maintenance, and it was Amazon/training room for $527.88. Did we get some new training room equipment?
Yep, so that was actually related to the tornado, believe it or not, an insurance claim. And what had happened to our chairs, as you guys recall, the training room ended up being a triage and treatment center during the tornado incident, and so insurance also covered for the cleaning of the carpets and the chairs. And there was a lot of people and patients treated in there, and there's a lot of fluids in there. In the cleaning process, something that happened to the chairs, we hired a company to come in and do the carpet, or we did the carpet and they did the chairs. It broke down the material of the chairs. So the chair cushions deteriorated essentially and opened up, so you'd just see like the yellow styrofoam underneath. We submitted an insurance claim. Insurance did cover 12 chairs, and then 2% actually purchased the other 20 or so chairs. So we were able, because they ended up over time, initially it was just the 12, but over time as we used them, they all were that way, and 2% replaced those. So those were chairs, that was for 12 chairs for the training room that was reimbursed by insurance.
Thank you. And now I guess moving on to Chief Woody. On page 9, so I understand interview room camera for $251.83 as pretty self-explanatory, but can you talk about what detective monitors for $599.96 are used for?
Yeah, that came as a request from the detective section to add an additional monitor to the workstation. This would allow a bunch of day-to-day benefits for them to be able to pull up multiple documents on one, do reporting on the other. But probably the rationale that sold it for me was, they can be writing an affidavit for a search warrant, which they'll be required to do a lot of times when we get called in for overtime. And they can pull up documents, video, photographs, reports, have that up on one screen, and then write the affidavit on the other, we're making more efficient that search warrant writing process, which, when you've got a lot of people on overtime, any amount of time that you can make that process more efficient is a cost savings. But in addition to that, they find themselves doing a lot more video interviews, and they're responsible for, from time to time, taking that interview and then transcribing it into a report form. So they can have the interview up on one screen, have it playing, and then ultimately being able to dictate themselves their own report.
Thank you. That's all I had for you, Chief. Last but not least, page 2 from the general fund, I was a little dismayed to read that we spent about $1,048.99 on, I guess, holiday greetings, $763.23 to the Boone County Shopper, and then another $285.76 for Mayor Christmas cards. And then I also had a question about $250 for breakfast at the Chamber.
Well, the Breakfast at the Chamber is an event that the city should sponsor, at least I believe we should. We have a lot of downtown businesses that invest in the city of Belvedere, and during that time, certainly I think the city of Belvedere wants them to be successful, and it is a team effort. And so that is a $250 The holiday greeting cards. I'm looking for that. Christmas cards. I receive an awful lot of Christmas cards, and I certainly try and return those. And so those are Christmas cards. I receive a lot. I don't know what in the past that we've done here, but I have tried to make sure that when I receive them from businesses or from individuals that I send them out as well. So, and then what was your other question?
The $780-some to the shopper.
The $780-some to the shopper would have probably been for the city of Belvedere. I think historically has put in an ad, basically with the city of Belvedere, with the staff, during the holiday season, during the Christmas season. And this year was no different than any other year, at least that I'm aware of. So that would have been for the Christmas greeting that the city of Belvedere put in.
Thank you, that's all I had tonight,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Alderman Snow.
Just a heads up, it looks like we're missing page 29 and 30 in the packet.
They always are. That's payroll and that's employees' deductions. They're taken out for private things.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we have a motion on the floor then to approve the general and special fund expenditures in the amount of $2,488,763.04. All those in favor of the motion on the floor will answer aye. All those opposed, nay. As the clerk calls a roll, please.
Albertini,
Aye.
Brereton,
Abstain.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank. Aye. Freeman. Aye. Gramkowski. Aye. McGee,
Aye.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
9 in favor.
Motion passed, thank you. And we also have, under approval of expenditures, water and sewer fund expenditures in the amount of $643,444.80. If I could have a motion to that effect, please. Motion by Alderwoman Frank, thank you. And is there a second? Second by Alderman McGee, thank you. Any questions regarding the water and sewer fund expenditures that are in your packet? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the floor will, when their name is called, answer aye. Any opposed, nay. As the clerk calls a roll, please.
Brereton,
Aye.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank. Aye. Freeman. Aye. Gramkowski. Aye. McGee,
Aye.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Albertini,
Aye.
10 in favor.
Motion passed, thank you. And moving along, item 8, committee reports and minutes of city officers. For the record, items A through H have been placed on file with the city clerk's office. And item I on the next page would be a motion, would like a motion for to approve the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Building, Planning, Zoning, and Public Works dated January 8th of 2024, please. Motion by Alderman Fleury, thank you. And a second? Second by Alderman Stevens. All right, thank you. Any questions, any corrections, any comments regarding those minutes? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And if there's any opposed? Okay, motion passed, thank you. And unfinished business 9, under 9, unfinished business, we have item A, resolution number 2024-1, that being a resolution authorizing execution of a letter of credit with Midland States Banks guaranteeing payment of the city's insurance carrier for fuel storage.
Make that motion.
Motion by Alderman Snow and second by Alderwoman Mulhall. Thank you both. Any questions, any comments regarding the resolution? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor will, when their name is called, answer aye. Any opposed, nay. As the clerk calls a roll, please.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank,
Aye.
Freeman. Aye. Gramkowski,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Albertini,
Aye.
Brereton,
Aye.
10 in favor.
Motion passed, thank you. And under item 10, new business motions forwarded from Committee of the Whole, Building, Planning, Zoning, and Public Works dated January 8th, 2024. Motions out of Public Works. Chairman Snow, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. A, motion to approve the construction service proposal from CES in the amount not to exceed $18,000 for the 6th Street low-flow channel project. This work to be paid from line item number 01-5-751-8058.
Okay, thank you. Out of committee, is there any questions on the motion that we have out of committee? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion will, when their name is called, answer aye. Any opposed, nay. As the clerk calls the roll, please.
Frank,
Aye.
Freeman. Aye. Gramkowski,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Albertini,
Aye.
Brereton,
Aye.
Flurry,
Aye.
10 in favor.
Motion passed, thank you. And item B, Chairman Snow?
B, motion to waive the bidding process for factory repairs to the thickening centrifuge at the water waste treatment plant.
Okay, have a motion to waive the bidding process. Any questions, any comments? Alderwoman Freeman?
Thank you. Brent, can you tell me what exactly does factory repairs mean?
It means it's coming straight from the factory. There's no third-party individuals involved, which is why we can't get bids, because the repairs are being done by the factory through the factory of the original purchase. So that's our only option.
Okay, any other questions on the motion on the floor? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the floor will, when the name is called, answer aye. Any opposed, nay. As the clerk calls the roll, please.
Freeman. Aye. Gramkowski,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Albertini's absent. Brereton,
Aye.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank,
Aye.
9 in favor.
Motion passed, thank you. Item C, Chairman Snow.
C, motion to approve the proposal from Centrius for the factory repairs for thickening centrifuge at the wastewater treatment plant at the cost not to exceed $40,900. This work to be paid from the sewer depreciation account.
Okay, we have that motion out of committee. If there's any questions, Alderwoman Freeman?
Thank you again. So, since you explained what factory repairs mean, I'm assuming that this came from that factory and they are repairing that. So, being how it's costing us almost $41,000, this is out of warranty with them?
Correct, yep, the warranty is out on those. And just note that the repair estimate ranges from 20,000 to that 42,000 number, round numbers, based on what they find when they actually get in and tear it apart and to do the repairs.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the floor will, when their name is called, answer aye. Any opposed, nay. As the clerk calls the roll, please.
Gramkowski,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Albertini,
Aye.
Brereton,
Aye.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank,
Aye.
Freeman. Aye. 10 in favor.
Motion passed, thank you, Chairman Snow. And motions out of Finance and Personnel, Chairwoman Frank.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion to authorize a cost-sharing agreement with Region 1 Planning Council for economic analysis and data services at an amount not to exceed $7,857.14 annually.
Okay, we have that motion out of committee. I know that I had chatted with Finance Director Hanson regarding this, and I had concerns, being that obviously this would be prorated. We haven't taken advantage of this for 1 year. We would take advantage of what's left on the year, our budget year, and so then accordingly for next year. But Ms. Hanson?
Thank you, Mayor. So what Arwen has provided us with is an invoice for the current year, which obviously we would not pay anything prior to council approval if that's what you choose. So we would, if you choose to approve tonight, we would actually be looking for one payment this fiscal year of $2,182.54. And because this wasn't a budgeted item, we would actually hold off the second payment, the remaining payment for the year, which is due May 1, push it over to the next fiscal year. And that amount, between the full year starting May 1 and then this payment we delayed, would actually be $10,039.68, but that wouldn't be until next budget year. So this budget year, we would only be looking at $2,182.54.
So if the motioner would agree to add the $2,182.54 so that we're specific on what we're paying for, I think that would be what we would want to do. And that would be prorated for what we have left. So,
We need to do a motion to amend.
motion to amend? Could I get a motion to amend to include the amount of $2,182.54 then? Okay, motion to amend by Alderman Snow. Could I get a second? Second by Alderwoman Frank. Thank you.
It was Alderman Stevens.
Alderman Stevens, thank you. Okay. You guys look alike.
So verbiage-wise, the fact that we're saying the 7857 annually, or we're only, do we need to throw that into the mix to make sure that, because this is going to move forward, or are we going to get a new revised bill every year because their budget is going to increase for this individual?
No, this budget, I can only say that going forward the next year, the amount will be the same, but it'll be a time that we should handle it in the budget. So I would say we vote on that accordingly. If you want to approve it now as a budget item, that's up to you, but.
Well, no, right now, we're adjusting the dollar amount to 7857 plus the $2,000, so
Yes,
that's gonna.
for the remainder.
Right, but we need to make sure it's verbalized that, or verbiage, that it's 7857 annually is with the additional $2,000 or whatever for the offset for the budget year. I don't know how that plays out, but as I look at the annual thing, because it's gonna look like we're paying them $10,000 a year.
Well, I think the motion, the amendment is just for the remainder prorated. It should be for the prorated so that we know that it's for the remainder. Next budget year, we'll have an invoice. We'll receive an invoice, and if the council chooses to pay it, then that's certainly up to the council. I think you have a good understanding of what it's for, and, but I don't know if we would want to include anything in the next budget year, because we're gonna act on the budget anyhow. Alderwoman Freeman?
Thank you. So, it's my understanding, because it's an amount not to exceed, that this number could change depending on other municipalities that either decide not to opt in on this or do opt in?
It could. Yeah, it could go up. Let's say somebody withdraws, or it could go down if we have another member or two or whatever. Then it would be divided instead amongst 2 additional. So that could go down or it could go up. Either way, they're going to have to invoice the city. I'm not going to automatically pay it without council approval, and therefore, whatever that amount be, you'll see it first. And we know that for this year, outstanding, that'll be the 2182.54 as the motion, as the amendment states. And then moving forward, bless you, Chief, and then moving forward, we would, the council would choose whether or not to go forward on an invoice of 7857.14. But that, yes.
So this 2182 covers us from now until May 1st? Thank you.
54, yep, 2182.54, correct. That's correct. Any other questions on the amendment? Okay, so we have an amendment to the motion to state for the prorated amount as invoiced for $2,182.54. If there's any other questions, now's the time. And if not, all those in favor of making that amendment will, when their name is called, answer aye. Any opposed, nay. As the clerk calls the roll, please.
McGee,
Aye.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Albertini,
Aye.
Brereton,
Aye.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank,
Aye.
Freeman. Gramkowski,
Aye.
10 in favor.
Okay, the amendment passed, so vote, motion, then, I guess we have a motion, a vote on the motion as amended, which would be to approve a payment of $2,182.54 as prorated as invoice from Region 1 Planning Council. Any questions? Alderwoman Freeman?
So right now, we're voting on the amendment not to exceed $10,039.68?
No, we're voting on the amended motion of 2182.54.
Okay.
Are we going to bring this back then, the
Yes.
7,000? Okay.
Yep, we'll
Okay.
bring it back when we're invoiced. Yep. Understood? Okay. All right, so all those in favor of the motion as amended, will, when their name is called, answer aye. Any opposed, nay. As the clerk calls the roll, please.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Albertini,
Aye.
Brereton,
No.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Gramkowski,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
9 in favor.
Motion passed. And then just if, when we come to budget time, I hope that we've been able to answer all the questions, and if not, give me a heads up and let me know, and I'll make sure that we reintroduce this with Mr. Dunn and Mr. Pittsford as we go forward for the next budget year. And that is all we have on the agenda. I did, before we have motion to adjourn, I did want to point out and thank Director Brent Anderson, Public Works Director Anderson. I want to thank him. We had a real cold spell. We did have some broken pipes, and you know, the employees all had to work out in very inclement weather. Certainly appreciate it. Always do a good job, and with the snow removal as well. We certainly had a lot of snow, and it was very heavy snow. And so Brent, I want to thank you, and please thank your troops for us. I think you did an outstanding job as usual, so thank you. And with that being said, could I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Alderwoman Frank, thank you. Second by Alderman Albertini. All those in favor, say aye. Anybody want to stay? All right. We're adjourned for the record at 7:10 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for your time.